And so the question becomes, how many is enough and how many is too many, would you say? What's the ideal level of immigration? For immigrants and immigration, famously, we're all descended from immigrants. The question
then becomes, what is the fascination with immigration by supporting a racially targeted ban against Muslims and migrant workers? The economic advantage may not be clearly drawn in the sand as people believe it to be. It is an integrated part of the economic model to which society runs on. Cheap labor has been historically an American tradition. The racism justified by the current administration is in place because they believe immigrants have an economic advantage, such as the opportunity to work in high-intensity labor, low-wage paying jobs, which is not enough for any American to have a middle-class standard of living. The migrant worker also faces deportation, no health care, no rights to negotiate terms, discrimination, and physical and sexual abuse. It is not the cheap labor of destitute people that are stealing jobs from Americans, but rather the full mechanization of factories and outsourcing which remove these opportunities. There is clear evidence to suggest that this argument against migrant workers is a false dichotomy.
The flow of immigrants into the country, if you include like illegal immigrants, for instance, coming in annually, is less than it was before the Great Recession, annually coming in. So as a result of that, it actually goes in favor of my point, which is the more immigrants, the faster the growth. Okay.
The child labor law in the U.S. is pretty good, except when it comes to agriculture. And then it has a big gaping hole. U.S. law allows children to work in agriculture at far younger ages for unlimited hours outside of school in much more dangerous conditions than any other sector.
Without education, you cannot have the American dream. Some people say the American dream is dead. I don't disagree with them. The American dream is dead, but we're going to make it bigger and better and stronger than ever before. But again, without education, you can't do that.
Have you had any personal experience with the Pell Grant?
Not personal experience, but certainly friends and students with whom I've worked.
So you have no personal experience with college financial aid or management of higher education. Mrs. DeVos, then let's start with the basics. Do you support protecting federal taxpayer dollars from waste, fraud, and abuse?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. So do I. Because now we all know that President-elect Trump's experience with higher education was to create a fake university, which resulted in his paying a $25 million to students that he cheated.
Disorder erupted as protesters clashed with police, yet no violence was brought upon them. The unruly crowd was over 9 black students attending Little Rock Central High School. Historically, the integration of racial minorities has never been a popular sentiment to the American public. On the other side of the country, Chicanos and Latinos were working toward their own form of stability by earning the right for an education. In these examples, the courts ruled in favor of these groups organizing for their own self-determination.
I think a lot of the focus of the Equity Council, there's a few. One is certainly for our work, all of our work across the campus, to be more student-centered and to be thinking about what is it that the students need to be successful.
And I do think that the other piece of it too is thinking of support not as like a reaction, not like as a need, but something that's already in place before a student even tells you that they need support.
So one of the things that students have really asked us to do is to help us to learn how to bring their racialized, gendered, raced, embodied selves, their whole selves to this campus, and how to have their whole selves be expressed and supported in what they want to do in their educational journey.
And I think one of the things we need to do is give students the resources to be the fighters, or to at least be able to thrive even in a tough community.